Sorry, Pat Neary is my name.
Pat. How you doing, Pat? Um, just for the sake of disclosure, this is not part of the back to back to back to back. We're going to do something radically different. Instead of having about 4 minutes, we might do about 8 minutes
Oh,
because, yeah, no one has defined the length of speed coaching. So we have uh, Pat Neary here. Maybe the most exciting thing about Pat is he's got up earlier than maybe any other poker player in the history of one of these festivals has got up. It's actually before 11 o'clock in the morning, yeah, which is quite exceptional. It shows there's a level of commitment there, you know. And Pat kindly stepped out. There was too many people that signed up for the first speed coaching, so he showed a great humility, which to actually jump out of the way. And I'm beginning to think that might be his weakness as a poker player. Pat, what do you reckon?
well, that's an interesting observation. Humility, yeah, maybe I'm understated, definitely.
Understated, but this is me just guessing, wildly guessing. Yeah, because I'm trying to remember when I played you, and I might have played you, but I might have forgotten.
I The first time I played you, I was very raw. It was at the Galway EPT,
Mm.
the one in the tent.
Oh, the one in the tent. That
Yeah,
was great.
and
That was an ours.
I was a pure novice, absolutely. But I remember you schooling me when I tried to push you with Ace Queen.
And what did I do?
Oh, you had it anyway. You had Ace King.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I never really have it, so that's a surprise. And so for you today, I mean, basically the way we've been chatting about it is trying to find each person what their best game is, and then yeah. So maybe just start simply with that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, when and how and what does your best game look like, and how do you find it?
My best game looks like I kind of I'm I try and give off a tight sort of approach, but I think I'm capable of pulling moves. Um, I keep looking. I'm quite observant. When my best game is in flow, I'm very observant and very focused on the whole table, everybody, and just in that respect. And ABC, and then AZX now and again.
So what's this AZX?
Well, possibly a check raise or two, if if uh,
Now that's
if needed.
interesting, right? Because check raises are on the more advanced end of the spectrum. And one thing I found when I speak to people, yeah, is if they tend to be fairly tight players, um, the options they choose for being loose are very flamboyant. Yeah, they're on the more creative end of things. Yeah, and sometimes they miss the obvious ones.
I tend to check raise if I have equity, if it's in terms of, we'll say, even a good shot, or
Mm.
something.
So I'm reckoning that that's still a version of playing tight.
Okay.
So you have to have some ownership. You have to have some. So I'm interested, right? Whenever you're as aware as you can be, um, is there any kind of pure steals in there? Do you always have to have equity?
No, no, no. I don't always have to have equity. No.
Right. So for you, when you're playing well, right, you've set yourself up by becoming aware, etc., etc., right? What is it? What is it actually that you do? So compared to whenever maybe when you lose it a bit, what is it? Are you overfolding or are you overcalling?
Possibly overfolding.
That's what I mean. My instinct before we even said a word, the humility thing and all the rest of it. So it's like if you're overfolding, you're a fucking target for predators like me, right? Yeah, you know, and that's the bit that I'm kind of interested in. Now, this might sound a little bit different than a lot of the conversations we've had so far. We're having slightly longer conversation. So in the other 10 I didn't really bring in any poker. But what I'm looking to do in this conversation is just add in a specific guess and maybe do a little bit of work on that and see if we can link that up with mindset. So it's a kind of, this is an experiment, like all of life is an experiment.
Yeah.
So I picked that up with you. And would you agree that if other people can pick that up, then they can really take advantage of you?
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like a girl in a short skirt in a very dangerous area, right? Going out with too many drinks
Yeah.
late at night in a known area for muggers.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Uncomfortable.
Eh.
But yes, yeah. What you've just said would make me feel uncomfortable. Yeah, there's possibility that maybe I'm being exploited. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. And the kind of check raising with equity is not going to address that from a principial point of view.
Okay.
So, what how are we going to address? How are we going to make some progress on this? How are we going to, the first bit of progress is acknowledging that that might be the case, and the next bit of progress is maybe seeing, okay, how can we have some kind of plan where whenever you play again, you can find maybe one opportunity which annoys someone like me who thinks you're overfolding.
How do we address that? By being braver, I guess.
Right, and as always, I know. Were you at the group thing yesterday?
I was, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the themes that came up was that when people answer the question first, they answer it generally. Oh yeah, by being braver, and we're trying to move in so it becomes more specific. And this is a pattern that happens. So you started by being braver. How specifically braver? I mean, braver is sort of.
Well, if somebody, if I've noticed somebody is open raising far more than I think.
Right.
They
I like the
should
way
be,
this is going.
then I mean, I'm just awaiting a position that I think will, where I'll three bet them or or whatever.
No, but yeah, you're waiting, and that sounds the way you
Well,
said that.
yeah,
There, you
but
know what comes to my mind?
But that's my yeah.
Samuel Beckett comes to mind. I'm sorry,
Okay.
it felt a bit like waiting for Godot. So
Yeah.
it's an idea. I'm not convinced that you execute that
Okay.
often, if ever at all.
Okay.
But I'm guessing.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
is
yeah.
my guess close?
Well, I think it's a part of my game that I don't know. I'm not so sure.
You will know if you actually spot that someone is over raising, yeah, and then you decide to 3-bet them, yeah, pre-flop
Yes.
with, I mean, let's call it a hand like Jack 9.
Yeah. Yeah. King 7 suited.
And are we doing that, or is that just a dream for you?
No, I have done it.
How often?
Not often enough.
Right. Right.
Not
Now, what is
often.
not? We want to get real specific here. Say the last 3 tournaments you played, did you do it?
No.
No. So, question is, how did I know that before we started this conversation? Right? Number 1. Number 2, what story have you been telling yourself? Right? Because this theme is common, right? I don't think you're particularly unusual, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there are hundreds and thousands of players that have that same story. It's like an idea of something they would do, and maybe they did it once, sort of 5 years ago, So if we agree, maybe that's the case,
Yeah.
that you have a fantasy notion of you doing this a bit, but you're not doing that. Actually, the only thing you're really doing is you're there with a flush draw, and you're check raising, right? You know, you're there with, you know, ace king or ace queen, and you're check raising, maybe stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You know, but it's more of that nature. So, what would we, what would we do? What would you do to get yourself to choose? I mean, you've done the first thing. You've admitted.
Yes.
You know, you've owned up to you know the
Yeah.
fact
Yeah.
the fact that you're an alcoholic. I mean, no, that you've owned up to the fact that you're not making these moves, right? So, what would be your next step to actually make these moves? And you've given the basis of it. You'd obviously be observing things at the time. You'd be a high level of that. You'd be aware that that was the case. You've found your target, the guy who's kind of, you know, over raising. I would include in that somebody who is a bit of a kindred spirit like yourself. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would look for someone like yourself, right, and target that guy. Yeah. So that might be another option rather than target the guy who's like yourself, who's acting a bit weak in a hand, and then how do you pull the trigger? How do you bring it from the fantasy Walter Mitty realm to reality?
By just doing it, and I mean, like
So I'm gonna mirror back to you, right? So far in this conversation, right, for you, this is for you.
Yeah.
It was more convivial. It was more all the rest of it. At that exact moment when you went, by just doing it, there was a seriousness about you which has been absent. Not a bad thing, but it has been absent in the conversation to date.
Okay.
And I suggest it's that which will provide the foundation for you to make the decision. Can you feel?
I can.
Yeah? Can you
can
feel that
actually.
for you? Can you feel it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you just need to add a little bit of technical stuff on, which I don't think will be a difficulty for you. Yeah. But you've got it's the foundational attitude of no, I'm gonna. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's you've. Yeah. That's. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it might be a good idea to try and find a way. Do you feel if I was to say, look, before we even get into what play you'd make, how would you keep that seriousness? How would you remember that seriousness for yourself?
Well, I guess the fact that you've highlighted it and
I'm not going to be there all the time.
no,
you
no,
need
but
you need to
but
remember.
memory is, I mean, like, to take that into account and yeah, to actually sort of go.
Now you're talking slightly apart
Sorry.
from yourself again. You've gone away again, right?
Yeah.
But it's more theoretical, right? But I'm asking you viscerally, what are you going to do in the next day, in the next few hours, to make sure you remember this?
I am going to remember it.
No, I don't mean remember it as just a notion. I mean,
I'm going to act on it.
yeah. How will you do that? So the next game you're playing might be sometime later today, is it?
I might play the 200
Right.
later today.
So the 200, what time's that at?
4 o'clock.
Right. So between now and 4 o'clock,
Yeah.
there's two questions. First question is between now and 4 o'clock, what are you going to do to make this not just an intellectual memory, but a physical memory? And then the second thing you do, what are you going to do when you sit down in the first half an hour of a game to then be furiously looking to execute this, if there's a possibility? Great time to execute these things is the start of tournaments,
Yeah.
because
When you've
you can risk only
Absolutely.
20% of your chips.
Yes.
By experimenting, yeah?
Yeah.
Puts fear of God into people. I shouldn't be giving away this tip. Like,
No,
I do
no.
this a lot. So basically, let's deal with the first section, right? So you'll leave this interview and you'll have like 4 or 5 hours. You'll be doing various other things, but what are you going to do to remember that seriousness?
I'm going to focus on it, and I'm gonna try. I'm in. Take it on board,
You need to get way more specific than that, because you have a giant momentum of not doing this, right? It's a life momentum. So it's not an easy thing to try and break. So you're gonna certainly initially have concrete things that you personally are gonna do. I mean, it might be. I used egg timers once, right? Because I was struggling with time. I wasn't taking enough time to make a decision. Yeah. So I brought like 3 egg timers along and sat them on the table in front of me and start turning them over just to keep reminding myself about time. Or it could be you say something to yourself, or you could be you do something, or it could be, yeah. I mean, you have to come up with it.
Okay.
So
to
make it real, make it connected to your life. Yeah, it doesn't need to dominate it, but you need to come up with something before and something during the game, because you're trying to push back on a. I mean, I can see you look serious now, because this is a serious fucking business. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
The jovial Pat is not going to be fucking here.
Yeah.
To something, which is a shocking state of affairs, to give him a wee holiday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So come on, we're now moving towards the end of this.
Okay.
Trying to keep it within 10 minutes, because I know I can keep talking to you for a long time.
I probably would. I probably invoke one of my, in terms of the feeling of maybe aggression or seriousness. I'd probably think of some good West Coast rap music. And
Okay.
that would be my kind of trigger. I'd probably think of maybe a Dre record or maybe go East Coast and go Wu-Tang on it. And that'd be my. Sometimes I think about that when I'm getting if I get injections, which I have, medically speaking, like I've had quite a lot of issues that way. I always seem to think, I got Dr. Dre, or just be Dre about it, and that'd be my thing, and maybe bring that into the card.
Don't go fucking East Coast, right? From what you've said there, you stay West Coast.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
No, not East Coast. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Okay. Yeah. So just listen to you. I mean, I could reflect it back to you, but
no. I'm laughing.
Your East Coast was a subtle distraction for yourself, as if to say.
No, I mean, anyway, that's rap generics, but Wu-Tang. I mean, I'm talking about a kind of an aggressive rap attitude, gangster attitude.
Yeah, but I want you to be specific. So we'll take the risk to fuck the East Coast. Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
And just do West Coast for the moment. So it's nice and simple.
Yeah.
And in a way, I want it to be narrow, right? Because
Yeah,
I liked your attitude with that. So you'll do that. You'll bring West Coast along. So that's what you're going to do before 4 o'clock, yeah? Now, for the first half an hour, yeah, you probably don't want to be thinking about rap, yeah? How can you bring the West Coast directly into your play by what you're doing at the table?
By my posture, I suppose.
Yeah, and what would that be like? Come on, do it now.
Well, I tend to that would tend to be my. I think that would, yeah. If I'm sitting over a table with cards, I'm either like this.
No, too lazy, right?
Okay.
We're now there. It's not if I am, right?
Okay.
We are, it's very important this. Right, you are there now at 4 o'clock. You've done your West Coast preparation.
Yeah.
But now you're sitting at the table.
Yeah.
Come on, let's do it. You're sitting at the table, right?
Yeah.
And now you're going to make these decisions. You're observing everything, what's going on.
Yeah.
And you're ready that there may be an opportunity arises where you show a bit of like oomph at someone. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a 3-bet. What it can be is it can just be, any of the kind of aggressive things you can do at a poker table.
Yeah.
But you're observing and you're thinking, no, he's not going to call me.
Yeah.
He's not that strong.
Yeah.
Or he's somebody like me. Yeah. He's some bitch. Yeah. He's some hoe. We're just gonna fuck that hoe. Yeah. We're just gonna like yeah. So it's like, what are you gonna do then? So you've got a decent posture, you've got your observation. How are you going to make that extra step to execute, to be ready to execute?
I'm just going to very quickly assess the situation and just raise. And I mean, like I'll maybe three and a half. If it depends. I will assess what his bet is or her bet, and I'll assess what it is, and I'll just make a point of.
No, see what you've done a whole load of times there. Do you see what you've done?
No.
Physically?
Move
No, it wasn't fucking like that. That's the old Pat who can't do this. That's the old Pat that can't do this. She went like this. Whoa. Whoa. It was great. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. So that was the attitude, that was the serious attitude. Yeah. You were talking to like a serious man. Like you were on the verge of being able to do that. Now look, it may take a bit of time to kind of do that. But if you experiment with that at the beginning of the tournament at 4 o'clock, set yourself up with the West Coast rap attitude, and then bring Pat's own, yeah, with the observation. That'd be an interesting spot to be in, wouldn't it?
That'll be okay. That'll be okay. Good one.
All right.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Thanks, Andy.